Hello, and thanks for joining me today for your practice. I want to spend time tending to some of the crankier parts of the body, our shoulders, our neck, and our upper back, which makes a lot of sense why these are common problematic areas for people as we have the tendency to carry and hold a lot of stress and tension in these parts of the body. And our modern day lifestyle involves a lot of curling and rounding in or being hunched forward, and not a whole lot of expansion in the chest or opening in the front of the body. And I myself have been dealing with this reoccurring nagging shoulder injury in my right shoulder that I believe to be some sort of rotator cuff tendonitis inflammation issue. This is admittedly self-diagnosed, but you know your body best, right? Anyway, these injuries require a lot of rest, right? To really lay off from any intense, strenuous training that might further aggravate this part of the body. And instead shifting our focus to mobility exercises that help to maintain and improve range of motion, as well as gentle stretching. And so all of this led me to reflect on how we humans experience pain and relate to pain. And so when we think of pain, whether that be mental, emotional, or physical pain, we tend to avoid it like the plague, right? We do everything in our power to numb it, distract ourselves from it, run away from it. And oftentimes this fear-based response is learned. And consider how treatment is managed in medical settings, right? After having a surgery or some sort of medical procedure, oftentimes the first response to recovery is medication, pain medication. And it's as if pain is intolerable or something that needs to be eliminated immediately. And in doing this, we often forget about our own inner strength and our innate pharmacy within us that knows how to heal, adapt, and restore the body. Pain is inevitable, right? It is a natural part of life, and it also is a catalyst for growth. And that's not to say or suggest to adopt this warrior mentality where pain is glorified or worn as a badge of honor, or that we must force ourselves to endure pain for the sake of toughness, but rather an invitation to get curious, right? To start to notice when our fear of anticipating the pain is more than the pain itself, right? So when we start to fear this anticipation of experiencing the pain, then experiencing the actual pain itself. And so often it's the story that we start to attach to it too, right? Of what is this going to be like? How is this pain going to be felt? How am I going to handle it? Can I handle it? What does it all mean? How long will it last? And this inner dialogue and doubt creates a lot of unnecessary suffering. And so when we allow ourselves to sit with it instead of suppressing it, we're telling our nervous system that I can handle this, right? And what we will often discover is that we are a lot stronger and more resilient than maybe we were taught or give ourselves credit for. And so that is the invitation for today's practice, to move and breathe with this explorative lens, right? To meet ourselves, to meet our body where it's at, and to adjust and modify based on what we need in the moment, right? Because our body is always shifting, it's always changing. And so can we meet ourselves where we're at and just breathe into sensation? So for today's practice, we'll use a couple props. I have a strap here that we're going to use, and also right now I'm sitting on a blanket. So you can get, if you don't have those, you can get a towel or a blanket of some sort. We're going to use it in shoulder mobility exercises, and then for a gentle supported back bend at the end of our practice today. So yeah, we'll go ahead and grab those props, and we'll just take a moment to settle in and turn our attention inward, maybe closing the eyes down. And just inquiring, right? Doing a self-inventory. Maybe there are certain parts of the body that have been a little bit tender or sore or tight. And seeing if you can draw your attention to those spaces and just send the breath there. And can we meet these parts of us without any judgment or frustration? And just holding space for it to be here. And then begin to open the eyes and drop the right ear down towards the right shoulder. And relaxing the shoulders down away from the ears, right? Sometimes when we do this, we have the tendency for our shoulder to creep up. So really releasing that shoulder down away from the ear to feel a nice opening in the left side of the neck. And maybe walking the left fingertips out away from you. And just sending a big breath to big sensation. Option to stay here, or even explore with lifting the arm up and maybe pressing the heel of the hand, the palm away. Maybe flipping the fingertips down towards the ground. And just exploring, right? These stretches don't necessarily have to be static. We can feel into it and move around and explore. And if we find a spot that feels extra good, we can stay. Good. One more round of breath here. Releasing the left hand back down to the knee, lifting the head up towards center and dropping left ear towards the left shoulder. Relaxing the shoulders down the back. And maybe walking those right fingertips away. And just playing around, right? Maybe the arm lifts and the palm presses away. I know I feel this stretch more intensely on this side, not only in my neck, but in my shoulder. It's almost like this radiating sensation. And so just using your breath to gauge how far to go, right? If you notice yourself holding your breath, maybe let out of the pose a little bit. And of course, if you're experiencing any sort of excruciating pain, to come out. One more full round of breath. Releasing the hand back to the knee and bringing the head back towards center. And we'll grab our strap or a towel, anything that you might have, and we'll come into a little bit of a shoulder mobility stretch here. So grabbing for the strap in front of you and grabbing wider, right? Having a wider grip here and really pulling the hands away. So kind of making the strap a little taut and keeping a nice bend in the elbows. And so we'll move with a breath here. On an inhale, we'll bring the arms up overhead, almost in like a Y. And then I'm sliding my hands a little bit further apart because I don't have much flexibility in my shoulders. And we're going to circle the arms and the strap back around us. And so we'll do this a few times, kind of coming forward and back and try to link our breath with it. So inhale, we'll find this flexion in the arms and the shoulders, and then extend the arms back around as you exhale. Inhale, the arms back up and around, and exhale, release. 2 or 3 more times like this. Inhale, lifting the arms up overhead, keeping a slight bend in those elbows. Ooh, feeling a nice opening in the chest here as you bring the arms back. Good. Maybe hearing some pops and cracks as we start to warm up the shoulders and get some movement in. Good. And next time, inhale the arms up overhead and stay there. And on your next exhale, begin to lean over towards the right. So drawing the shoulder blades back together, almost pulling the heart forward just slightly. And so not only getting into the shoulders, but finding a nice lateral stretch here too. And gaze can be wherever you'd like. Breathing into the left side of the body. Inhale yourself to center. And then exhale, leaning over towards the left. Rolling the shoulders back. And steady breath here. Feeling a nice opening in the right side of the body. Good. Inhaling back to center. And then go ahead and release the strap. Set it off to the side. And then we'll come into hands at heart center. And so we'll work a little bit with eagle arm. So inhale, arms out into a T. Find some opening in the chest as it plumes forward. Gaze up, throat opens. And then exhale, right arm overlapped. And so option to grab for opposite shoulders, maybe backs of hands touch, or maybe you wrap them around. And so staying here for just a moment, finding your version of eagle arms, and maybe seeing if you can draw the elbows kind of up and away from you, and noticing if that creates any more space or sensation. And we'll move with breath with eagle arms and finding some cat-cow in the spine. So on an inhale, bringing ourselves forward, chest lifts, gaze lifts, elbows draw away. So bringing the shoulder blades together. And then exhale, drawing the elbows in towards you as the back rounds, scapula spread. Inhaling, finding cow. And then exhale, rounding into cat. Good. Twice more. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale back to center, opening up the arms in the T, and then exhale, left arm over right, and finding your variation of eagle arms. Settling in for a moment, and again, seeing if we can kind of find some lift in those elbows. So we're drawing them a little away and up from the body. And then finding our cat-cow here. So inhale, arching the back as the chest lifts. And then exhale, rounding, finding space in the upper back. Inhale into cow. And exhale, finding space. Twice more. Inhale. And letting it go. Once more. Inhale into cow. And exhale, rounding into cat. Inhale. Center, open up the arms in a T. And then exhale, windmill the hands behind you. So right hand goes to low back or the sacrum, and left hand goes to the upper back. And so if you have the flexibility or your arms are long enough and you're able to go into a bind here, go Mukasana, cow's face. Of course, you're more than welcome to do that. I have never had the flexibility in my shoulders to do that. And so staying here with hands on the back, or even this is a great place for a strap to kind of help gain some of that traction in the shoulders. So breathing here, breathing into that right shoulder as it opens. And then inhale, open the arms out into a T. Exhale, left hand comes to low back, right hand plants on the upper back. Breathing deeply here. Noticing the flow of the breath. Sometimes when we're in these stretches that we're holding, that can be a little bit intense. We have the tendency to hold the breath. And so just checking that when we're in a certain stretch, that our breath is still smooth and easeful. And if you'd like, I can show you with the strap. So inhaling, arms out into a T. And then we're going to grab for the strap. So left hand takes the strap and then wrapping behind. And we're going to almost like pull the hands away from one another, right? Finding some opening in the chest here. Releasing the shoulders. And also still trying to maintain length in the spine. If we find ourselves overarching, seeing if we can come out of it a little bit more to protect the low back. Or if this is a little bit more accessible to you in a standing position, exploring with that as well. And you can start to experiment maybe with walking the hands closer to each other with the strap. And on your next exhale, releasing. An option to continue using the strap on this side. So we'll go in your right hand and then grabbing behind with the left. And really actively pulling away the hands from one another. Two or three more rounds of breath here. And on your next exhale, releasing the arms, setting the strap down if you used it, maybe rolling out the shoulders. Good. And then we'll go ahead and come into a wide Janu Shirshasana. So extending the left leg long, right foot comes in towards the pelvis. And then begin to lean over towards the left. So maybe left hand plants on the ground, and then right arm can reach overhead. And actually, let's place the hand behind the head. So hand is pressing into the head as the head is pressing back into the hand. And on an inhale, find some opening here, shining the heart up towards the ceiling. And then on an exhale, begin to round the back, kind of carving out here and drawing that elbow down towards the ground. Inhale, open up. And then exhale, round and curl down towards the left knee. Twice more here. Inhale, finding some opening. And then exhale, really getting exaggerated with it as you round down. Inhale here, elbow reaching up towards the ceiling. And exhale, finding opening in the upper back. And staying here for just a moment. Breathing into the back of the heart. Feeling it expand as you inhale. And release as you exhale. Inhale yourself back up towards center. And we'll come into a twist. So bringing left hand to right knee, right fingertips plant behind, and just coming into a gentle twist. Pressing down through both sit bones, finding length in the spine and reaching through the crown of the head. Rinsing out. meeting back in center, and we'll switch sides. So extending that right leg long, left foot comes in towards the pelvis. Finding length on both sides. As you exhale, begin to tip over towards the right. Maybe hand plants and left arm extends long. And releasing the hand to the back of the head, having this point of contact here. Inhale, open up. You're rotating that chest up just slightly. And then we'll move with breath 3 or 4 times. On your next exhale, begin to round the back as you curl down. And then opening up, finding space. Exhale, round. Inhale, open. Exhale, scapula spreads, creating space in the upper back. And inhale, heart opens. Once more, exhale, round. And inhale, open up. Releasing the hand, coming back to center and coming into that gentle twist. Right hand to the left knee, left fingertips plant behind, rolling the shoulders down and back. Heart pulls forward slightly. And breathing into this twist. Steady breath here. Good. And then coming back to center, planting both feet on the ground, knees bent, and just begin to windshield wiper the legs from side to side. Releasing some energy in the hips, finding a nice stretch on the outside of the hips. Good. And then we will make our way into our supported back bend. And so what we will need is either a towel or a blanket. And we are going to roll our blanket up. And then we will lie it the length side of our mat. And then we will meet our sacrum to the base of the blanket. And then begin to gently roll ourselves down. And so allowing the blanket to run along the spine. And a few options for the legs. Maybe you keep the knees bent. Maybe the legs extended long. Or even coming into Supta Baddha Konasana, reclined butterfly, bringing soles of the feet together. So your option for where you'd like the legs, and same thing with the arms, right? Maybe extending them long, or even placing one hand on the belly and one hand on the heart. And so finding stillness, connecting with the breath. Allow the body to soften and be heavy. And to be held and supported by the earth. Breathing deeply, maybe extending the exhale longer than the inhale. And maybe taking another moment to reflect on today's theme of pain and our relationship to pain. Right? And how, when we avoid pain, how does that maybe shrink our world and how we connect with ourselves and others? What do we tend to avoid or run away from? And what would it be like to meet it? To meet it with curiosity, to meet it with an open heart. Sending your breath to every cell in the body, allowing yourself to be breathed, to fill up and expand with every inhale, and allowing yourself to soften with every exhale. And I'll leave you here. You can stay as long as you'd like. And I hope that you found some benefit in this practice today, and there were some exercises or stretches that landed in the body. And just take what works and leave the rest. And I look forward to practicing with you again somewhere on your mat. Namaste.